Hello friends, today we'll be covering a new topic which is about creative thinking. Now in this session we will initially understand the meaning of creativity, what does creative thinking basically mean, what are the different types of creative thinking in today's genre, also the skills and the techniques required in order to become a good creative thinker or to enhance your creative thinking skills. And finally, we will also understand the different types of hats using 6 hat model of what are the different hats people wear across different organizations or in the same organization. Let's begin with initially what is creative thinking. Now, creative thinking means looking at something or a situation in altogether a new perspective, which means we rule out the way others or the traditional method was, and we look at it in altogether a new contemporary way. Now, critical thinking is stimulated both by unstructured process, which is brainstorming, which is known as a lateral thinking process. So creative thinking, if I have to put it in one word, it basically means that it is thinking out of the box. Now, traditionally, if people think that solving a particular problem is only with a solution, creative thinking gives a different angle to solve the problem, and we land up saying that instead of solution A, we focus on solution B and we solve a problem altogether in a new way. Now, there are different types of creative thinking. There are divergent thinkings, lateral thinking, aesthetic thinking, system thinking, and finally inspirational thinking. Now let's look at each one of them as to how each one of us might have different types of thinking abilities creatively. Now the first creative thinking type is divergent thinking. Now divergent thinking means when we look at a problem with all the flexibility, with all the fluency and with originality. We will never say this problem is something like the past one. Every time we look at it in a fresh way, okay, every time we communicate it in a fresh way, we solve it in a fresh way. So there are people, if the OCD people, they're obsessive compulsive disorder, those kind of people, they want everything neat. Now every time they clean their shelf or every time they clean their room, they clean it in a new way. The same room, every time they clean it, has to be decorated in a different way altogether so that the room looks different every time it is cleaned. Now those type of people who look at the same problem with different solutions, different creative solutions, are known as divergent thinkers. The second one are lateral thinkers. Now lateral thinkers are the ones who come up with a new idea always. So they think of a problem, they look at it, okay, with the traditional method, and then they completely altogether come up with a new way to solve the problem. Now these thinkers are basically the advertisers who always create for the same product. They create a new ad with a same message always. So those thinkers are known as lateral thinkers who solve the problem, okay, they are new generational, so they solve the problem with new ideas, okay. They are the ones who think out of the box, they are the ones who believe in the clicked patterns, like click hona chahiye and then we will do it. It should just click and it's done, that message or that idea should click. Once it clicks, the problem is solved. So those type of thinkers are known as lateral thinkers. There are also thinkers which are known as aesthetic thinkers. Now, aesthetic thinkers always and always will produce or discover things in a very pleasant, musical way, artistic way. So every time you tell them to draw something or you tell them to solve a picture or solve a problem, they will first create that image on the paper, or they will start humming a song, that, oh, let me hum a song, and by humming a music or a song or just by doodling, they will be able to come up with a creative solution. Those type of people are known as aesthetic thinkers. Then you have system thinkers. Now system thinkers are who will listen to the problem, okay, will try putting all the things which are there in the system, all the things which are there around into the problem. They will join the dots and find a solution. They don't think extra. What they do is they just think and by joining the dots. So A, then B, then C, and then they connect it and find, oh, this has to be the solution, is because it started with here, the next stage was this, the third will be this stage. So when those type of thinkers are known as system thinkers, they think as per the system, as per the protocol. They think different, but by only joining the dots. They do not think out of the box or creatively in an exceptional way. And finally, the next set of thinkers are known as inspirational thinkers. They are the ones who are inspired by what the other person has done, or somebody who's great has performed, and based on them, they find a solution. They analyze, or they study a lot of case studies, in short, about great people, about similar situations. They will dream of themselves being in that situation. They will seek a lot of clarity before analyzing a situation and coming to a solution. Now that clarity is only achieved when they think about what the other person had performed when he or her were in a similar situation. The next topic that we will be understanding in creative thinking is the skills. Now, what are the skills you need to have if you want to become a creative thinker? The first skill is analytical. Now, analytical means before you think something creatively, you need to understand. Your brain needs to understand the situation first, needs to understand the problem. You can't come up to a solution if you don't know the entire story. So do not conclude anything. It's as simple as do not judge the book by its cover. You need to read the book to understand what the book is talking about. So those type of people actually have the ability to understand, have the ability to think, and then they will come up to a solution. Okay, so they will make sure they have their notes ready, they will listen carefully, they will analyze what each one of them is doing, and then finally they will come up to a solution. The next set of skill which is important is open mind. Open mind means you need to be very, very open to all the assumptions and biasness. You need to take into consideration all the assumptions, all the biasness, all the technical issues, everything into consideration. You need to have an open mind, thinking that situation A is also correct, B is also correct, C is also correct, and now let me choose which is the best situation for this problem. Okay, so then that is how you enhance your creativity. The third important skill which is important is problem solving ability. Not all of us are problem solvers. There are few people, when they fall into a situation, when they fall into a problem, they get scared, they get nervous, they lose control over themselves. They need somebody always when they are in a trouble. Be it just anyone. It could be younger to them, equal to them, higher to them, elder to them, anybody, but they need someone. So to solve a problem, you need to be a problem solver first. You need to know what are the work related problems. You need to understand the ability as how to think creatively to solve a situation. Now the question which has come up, I will be answering henceforth all the questions towards the end. So the question which has come up now is how to understand creative thinking. Now you don't have to understand creative thinking. I started with my session saying that every time you look at something with a new perspective, with a new, fresh perspective, leaving behind the old traditional orthodox methods, you are doing creative thinking. I look at a book in altogether a fresh way, not assuming what people have given me the assumptions or reviews of the book, and then I come up to a solution that what could be different in a book. That is creative thinking. Okay. Now the fourth skill, we move back to what are the skills important. So the next important skill is organization. Now organization, when they hire you, okay, please understand, they hire you for your creativity. So you might be a little messy, okay, in your work, that is okay. You might be a little untidy in keeping your things, that is okay in an organization. But when it comes to talking out your creativity, you need to be perfect. You need to make sure that you are able to structure everything, put everything clearly in front of the people whom you have to talk, so that the organization understands what you are talking creatively. Communication. The next one obviously is when, however messy, however crumpled you are in your head, but you should be able to communicate your creative ability. Whatever you think creatively, you should be able to talk it out. If not pen it down, at least talk it out and say this is how you can solve. Then come up to stage wise solution, that how stage wise we can solve it. Very important in any field, in any genre, in any way, is the communication skill. The way you communicate to your clients, to your work people, to your team members about a problem or about a situation and how do you solve it, that is important. The next is artistic creativity. Artistic creativity, like I said, you need to have the aesthetic talent inside you where you can connect people easily. Now, like a simple ad, daag achhe hain. It's a very simple tagline for Surf Excel, but we are using it so oftenly now. The reason is the person who drew or who had to make this advertisement understood the crux, saying that it is a stain which is not nice. Nobody loves having a stain on the cloth. So let's take it positively by saying that stains are good. So as artistic creativity is very important. The way you put together all your creative skills with maybe a musical talent, or maybe an art, or maybe any kind of drawing or any kind of a jingle, that is very important. Now, what is the link between organization and creativity? There are a lot of people in an organization, okay? Now, when you need to have a very good, so when you're working in an organization, you come up with a new idea, okay, that is completely okay. You should be able to tell people about your vision, that what is your problem first for it to be solved. So when a client comes to you, to an ad agency, and says that you as an organization need to design an ad for me, the ad agencies don't randomly come up with a solution, okay? They will sit with the client for hours together and understand what the client requires. So the client will tell them what their mission, vision is, what they want in an advertisement, what kind of people are they targeting for, what is the product majorly. And then you as an ad agency organization will solve a problem of theirs creatively. So that is a relationship between an organization and creativity. I'm talking from an ad agency point of view now. You need to be creative problem solving techniques. So creative problem solving in short means innovation. You need to have that ability to think creatively for every situation. The way you dress up, sometimes you feel, oh my god, how is this person dressed up? But a funky style of dressing is typically an example of innovation. How innovatively you have dressed up yourself so that you look different, you look presentable, and yet you're matching up to what your satisfaction level of dressing is. So that is very important when you are doing a problem solving as well. When I talk about skills, we also need to understand the techniques which are important for creative thinking. The first important technique which most of the organizations do is brainstorming. Now, brainstorming means you have a group of people coming together, they talk about a topic and they storm themselves. They come up with different concepts, people come up with different ideas in a group, and each one of them pens down. And then from hundreds of ideas, they boil down to 50, then to 10, then to 20, then to 5, and finally to one solution to a problem. So brainstorming is basically a lot of ideas put together, a lot of people working in a team together, where each one of them counterattacks, tells them the goods and the bad when an idea is popped up, and they finally come up to a solution where you have minimum negatives and maximum positives for any idea. The next type or technique of creative thinking is engaging your right brain. Now, scientifically, your left brain is for logic. Your right brain is a little messy, okay? That's where the creativity lies. So that is the reason we say now left-handers are more creative, because they think from the right brain. The right-handers are more logical because they think from the left brain. That's how scientifically it's been proved. So for your creative techniques, your right brain has to be tickled. Your right brain has to be scratched, okay? So for that, you need to keep doing a lot of techniques. Techniques like, the typical one is word association. So they put a word and they ask people to tell what are the things that they can relate to when they say a word. Or they might put up a picture on a projector and they say, write down a story for this picture, for just this picture. So that is how your right brain is made active active on a regular basis in organizations or in institutions where you study. The third technique is a role play situation. Now, a role play does not mean you pretend something, okay? Role play does not mean you pretend to be a customer, you pretend to be a seller. No, no, no. I'm not talking about all that role play. When I'm talking about role play, I mean to say that you as a person need to emotionally get into the situation and explain your client what it is, okay? You have to be more radical, more powerful about what the person needs, your client needs, and emotionally touch that point by yourself first, okay? Until I don't connect with the advertisements will never be connected with the customers. A simple example which I tell you, there is an ad agency, I will not name an ad agency. That ad agency, whenever they develop an advertisement, okay, they play it as a music in the office throughout the day or at regular intervals. Now their office is a huge office of multiple floors, okay. So what they do is they play and they note what other employees' reaction when they listen to this advertisement through CCTV. So when the music started, was everyone curious to listen what is it now? Or the music was so irritating that everyone like, oh, ye kya baj raha hai? Or multiple times, when they heard it multiple times, what was their reaction? And then they also take a feedback from the customer as to what they felt about the music, about the jingle. They liked it, it was soothing, it was not soothing, what is it? So finally, so this is what it is. So this is how. The last thing is 6 thinking hats. Now 6 thinking hats is a very, very important concept which needs to be done. Now 6 thinking hats is about 6 thinking hats is about what kind of people are there in the organization and what kind of hats they use. Now, there are 6 hats which every person in an organization can wear. Somebody wears all 6. Madam, request, tell me the function of teamwork in a society. I'm sorry, this is not a session on teamwork. We will move on to teamwork session when we do a teamwork topic. I'm talking about creativity. We will do creativity in this part. Maybe the next session will take up something which is teamwork. Now 6 thinking hats is what I was talking about. Now this is a very important model which is there in an organization. There are 6 hats which each one of us can wear. You can wear all 6 at one time, or you can have multiple at one time, or you can just keep switching over your hats as and when the situation arises. Now the 6 hats are of 6 colors: white, red, black, yellow, green and blue. Now the white hat, the person who wears white hat always believes in factuals. They will only talk about facts. They are financial people, they are statistical people. They do not think anything beyond facts. They do not think anything beyond numbers, okay. So if you tell them a factual, and only then they will be able to come up with a solution, okay. They cannot think beyond that. The second one is a red hat. A red hat is about emotion. These people are 90% of the time emotional. They think of a situation in a more emotional perspective, maybe in HR. So, they are the ones who look at situations more emotionally than practically. The third one is a black hat. These people always land up in a judgment. It can be a rational judgment, it can be a perspective or an assumptuous judgment, or it can be a very sound judgment. But they always will come to a judgment every time they think or solve a problem. The fourth one is a yellow hat, which is logic. Now when I talk about logic, these people talk about practice. Their left brain is more active than their right brain. They always look at things logically, practically, or that is how they do it. The fifth hat is a green hat. A green hat is about creativity. They are the ones who actual right brain is active. They are the ones who actually solve, or are the ones who are more into the art industry, more into these ad industries, because they are more inclined by solving situations in a fresh perspective by thinking out of the box. And finally, the sixth hat is a blue hat, which is control. That's normally a bossy hat, okay? So they are the ones who want to keep control over everything. They are the ones who want to make sure they have control over every aspect of whatever is happening in a team or an organization. In this, for us as a creative person, we need to make sure the fifth hat, which is a green hat, is always there on our heads, or we keep wearing it again and again, so that our creative skills are refined or keep working on a regular basis. So finally, if I have to sum up, okay, there are two things which we need to remember, which will keep us engaged in creative thinking skills and techniques. The first one is don't stop, which means even if you feel you've come up to a solution, okay, think again. Maybe it can get better. Maybe we can come up with one more new idea. Maybe we can find some more creative solution. So every time you feel I'm done, beyond this there is no solution. Beyond this I cannot have any other idea. I'm sorry. Wait back. Just think. Don't stop there. So like there is a very Oscar Levant, he's a person who just said there is a very thin line between a genius and an insanity. So you need to know that line, okay? And every time you become insane, you should know how to come back to become a genius again. So that thin line has to be drawn and maintained even in your creative skills. You cannot keep thinking every time freshly, okay? But you should know when to think correctly, when to think freshly, and when to think logically. When to do a solution which is creative solution, and when to have a logical solution to your problem. And the second thing which is important to have your creative skills active all the time is go with the flow. Now creative thinking is coming up with the unexpected problems always. So don't run away from a problem ever. Just sit straight with it, okay? Wait for a while, see what is happening, and then come up to a solution every time. So this is how the end. I will just say one line is that open mind is the best or the most important prerequisite if you want to have a creative thinking inbuilt in you, always in regular intervals or as and when you need it. The next question which has come is how to judgment creative thinking. Now there is no judgment. Now we are humans, so each one of us will look at things differently. Like so for someone a yellow is a yellow color, but for somebody it's a light yellow, lemon yellow, ochre yellow. So depending on what our brain has been tuned to, we will think. If I come from a very traditional background, I will always look at a solution which is more traditional until and unless I read more about the current situations, I read more, enhance my practical or the modern approach of thinking also. So there is no judgment. Nobody is right or wrong in a creative thinking. It is just that maybe your thinking is not at par with what the other person has given an idea. You still need to mature, okay? So creative thinking, there is no judgment, there is no good, bad, there is no right, wrong. It is always thinking something fresh than what the traditional or the old method is like. Any more questions that you all need to ask about creative thinking? Okay, so I wind up with my session on creative thinking. Hope to catch you all soon next time and with a fresh new topic. And the question which is on teamwork, what is the function of a teamwork in a society? I will make sure I get back to it whenever I cover a teamwork topic in the future. Thank you so much and have a pleasant day.